Hey guys, it's Roy the Wolf Davila coming at you live. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It is your favorite sales manager, Anthony Christmas, here at Costa Nissan in El Paso, Texas. Just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of what Roy does and how well he does it. The Wolfpack training that he has, it's exactly that. It's in the name. He teaches you how to be a wolf, staying hungry. And he just keeps you focused. A lot of times in this business, we tend to lose focus, lose the strive to be better, when you're already doing good. And, although our store does very well, we can still do better. And that's exactly what Roy does is he comes in here, he teaches us some new things, but not only new things, but makes us some of the things that we know, implement them and then keep implementing them. With Roy, comes in and he gets you thinking about the things that you once forgot and really pushing your salesman, pushing the needle further than you ever thought you could. He's been phenomenal. And I really recommend for those dealerships out there that are doing really well. It doesn't mean we're missing car deals. And we really, really are. And if you don't stay on top of it or keep training and really, really setting the standard, then you're always going to be mediocre. When this time changes, you're going to go back to a level that you don't want to be. Point of Roy is he's trying to keep us above the level, and grow within this time. And it's been fantastic. Nothing but good things here. Like Anthony said.
My grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. He said my grandson will be in a Ferrari. But he said my great-grandson will be walking again. So I asked him, I said, well, why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. He said to me, many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors.
Good times create bad habits. Don't let that happen to you. It's just accountability, discipline, staying true to our word, and making sure that over everything else, we stay hungry.
What's going on, guys? It's Roy, the Wolf Davila, coming at you once again. Season 2 start to Sales Tower Talk. Now, I know you guys are used to me doing this a certain way. We bring a special guest on stage. We talk about some things about them and their career, their profession, who they look up to, mentors, mentees, stuff like that. But we're going to do things a little different for you today, all right? Because I got a special guest in the house, all right? Now, when I go around and I start to talk to dealers, no matter where we're at, conferences, you name it, there's one thing that's starting to come up and it's a hot topic, all right? And everybody wants to know, is there a new internet customer? Is there something different we should be doing in our space? Or should we just go back to business as usual, right? Ask the few simple questions. When can you be here? When can you arrive? The phone scripts we've heard, how we've been trained in the past. Or did disruptors like Carvana and Zoom open up a whole new way of communication we need to reach out to our potential customers? And I had a lot of people ask me this question and pose this question to me. And I said, you know what? I can either answer this alone or I can bring my brother on stage who, has an amazing background in all things internet and BDC and say, let's give them a powerhouse conversation to help them understand what this means. Is there a new internet shopper? What do they want from us? And how should we communicate with them, right? So with that being said, I'm going to invite my man Durran Cage with Cage Automotive onto the stage, and we're going to go at it. All right, guys?
Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for the intro. You killed it. And thank you because since we connected, what was that? When we finally met in person, was that at a SODU?
Yep. That was Philly.
So I'd heard all about you through some other people, and then one with Ron. He's always spoke highly of you. So man, it's really cool it was great to connect in. And then since then, just to keep that connection live and just chatting and talking and doing this together. This is what it's all about, man. I'm telling you, the industry is all about collaboration, bringing as many great minds, not saying that mine is one of them, but I'm working on it daily, but bringing 100%. Us all together to help dealerships win. I think that's really the future of automotive on our side, right? The vendor, the partner space. The more we collab, like I was literally just texting Andrew Breedlove right as we were talking before this, because we're working together on a client with Auto iPacket. So it's all about coming together. So thank you.
100%. Hey, and shout out to Ron, man. Ron's I love that guy, the passion that comes from it, right? And likewise, he said a lot about you. And you know, it's funny, and just to what we were talking about, I remember sitting in Vegas, and everybody's there. It was for one of the first DeSoto deals, and it's the day that Glenn Lundy jumped on the table and got all animated. Man, and it's hard not to. I mean, I still get chills thinking about it, right? But I remember I'm sitting there, and there's so many industry leaders in that room, and we're sitting there, and it's me and Fred and Lou, and we're talking about making a change in automotive. We're talking about changing the way that people look at our business and the way that people look at people in our business, right? And I remember just looking at Fred and saying, Fred, the only way we're going to do it is together, right? If like minds come together, we can influence people in this industry. And it's like this, right? It's by putting some free content out there that we're not afraid for people to absorb, because we want to change things. We want to change the dynamic. We want to change the way people think about us. And I think our topic today is very important in that, right? Like, because people don't, let's be honest with each other, right? People don't like to shop for automobiles. They don't. They're afraid they're going to get pestered. They're afraid that they're going to run into a salesperson, the pitches. I mean, all of it. That's why they taught us for so long, right? Hey, build rapport, build a relationship. And it's funny, I just talked about this with one of my clients. We're going to build all this rapport and relationship, but as soon as we smell that we can set an appointment, we're going to do what? Go for the kill.
That's right.
Right. And it's just so off-putting. And, you know, I said, guys, nowadays you're so used to, if you want to go out on a date or you want to meet somebody, you jump on an app and you swipe left and right. Right.
That's it.
Well, we're swiping left and right with our customers. The courtship's gone. We're not out there saying, hey, you want to go grab coffee? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And then, hey, let's go to the movies. It's straight, hey, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, right? And I think, you know, I don't want to hog the mic up too much here at the beginning, but I want to preface something and then let you go. People that believe Carvana was just a phase, people that believe Zoom is just a phase. Hey, they're going bankrupt. You know, I'm not saying that they made right money decisions at all. What I'm saying is Carvana sold over 400,000 used cars last year, right? Those are our customers. Those are, and I say ours because we all own the automotive collectively, right? Those are people that should have stayed in franchise stores or even single point used car stores, whatever you want to call it. They should have done business traditionally, but we refused to listen to them. And we gave these disruptors the opportunity to show customers it's easier. And over 400,000 in just one. We're just talking Carvana. We haven't brought up Zoom or anybody else, or Vroom, but just one disruptor took 400,000 customers away from potential dealers, right? So to me, that I tell when dealers bring up that question and say, hey, what's the deal about Carvana? Should we even pay attention? They're going to be out of business. I mean, there's nothing. You should look at that number and get sick and say, okay, how do I get my share back, right? You know, I saw a picture of a Carvana vending machine with the Spirit deal on it. Yeah, that's funny, right? But hey, in reality, that vending machine took a large share of business from dealers. So, you know, the question that we have, and I'm going to put it on the screen so people can follow with, and this is what I want your help answering, Durran, is who is today's internet shopper? What do they want? And after that, I'm going to get off my soapbox, right? But after everything I just said, how do you feel about it, man? What's your message? Let's talk about that a little bit.
All right, so let me answer the first part of the question because that was loaded. The first one was, who is the internet shopper? And so when I think of who is the internet shopper, I think about where that internet shopper comes from. That's number one. So did they come from your website? Did they come from the manufacturer? Did they come from social? Like, where did they come from? Because knowing where they're coming from is going to tell you more than likely how you need to communicate to them, right? So point example, if they came from some trade site, then we obviously know we need to connect with that customer about what they're probably looking to accomplish, which is either sell their car or replace it and get a value for it. Or if it's a finance site, whatever that thing is, it's finding out, number one, finding out more about that source. I think that's probably still one of the biggest opportunities that I see in a lot of dealerships is they don't even study the sources. Leads are coming in from different areas and they have no idea who the marketing source is. You got to know that because the communication has to be consistent with the marketing messages that the customer saw. But then after that, after identifying those customers, the next thing that I believe that most shoppers, and this isn't just what I believe, it's really what data shows, is really what they're looking for is to save time, right? So it goes back to what you were saying, Roy. You're talking about you're trying to build this rapport, you're doing all these things, but then we stop it to set the appointment because we think by stopping and just focusing on just get them in is going to solve the problem, and that's not. It's about giving them the information that they needed, building the rapport, like you said, and then setting up an appointment to either go to them or them come to you to make it to where the visit is extremely, extremely short and saves them time. And then after that, you just do wash, repeat, get a review, and do it again and again.
Man, and you hit on something that's fire right there, right? And I'm sorry, but I gotta. I mean, I get it. This is what I do. I get inspired about this stuff, right? And I put something on Facebook the other day, and I got some polarizing DMs. It's funny, everybody will DM you, right? I meant for engagement for people to do it, on the post, but I got a lot more. Hey, what do you mean by this? And the DM. So hey, it's okay. Well, some people will get out there, and I encourage as you see people like myself or Durran engage on social, engage back with us, and it's all out of love. We're not calling anybody out. We're just trying to change the dynamic like we talked about. And the only way we can do that is by communicating with you guys. So I put that post up and I said something to the extent of, if you're still asking for the appointment, you're doing it wrong. Right. And I got DMs that were like, man, what do you mean? We got to set the appointment, so I'm sitting with one of my clients this past week, and I'm sitting with the BDC department, right? And it's a corporate BDC structure. So BDC teams, and they're centralized, and they have 5 dealers that they take care of, and then they have another 4 that are about an hour away. So and I have a discussion with the internet director, and we talk about what their job is, right? And I said, before, we're going to talk about it, and then I'm going to meet with your people, and we're going to talk to them about it. So when I meet with the staff, I say, okay, what's your job? And everybody says the same thing to an extent, right? Get them in. Get them in. I said, okay. So and we're standing there together, and I say, okay, we just met with the sales managers. What is their biggest pet peeve with BDC? Man, they're setting all these flaky appointments. I see 40 appointments. I see 50 appointments, but none of them show up. And we get upset at the BDC department. So I broke it down. I said, guys, you understand we're getting upset at the BDC for doing what we taught them to do, right? So if their job is, and this is their interpretation of it, right? You have to make sure you lay out what your expectations for people are when you hire these whatever position it is. So their interpretation verbatim is, my job is to just get them in. Their habits are going to be those that equal that. So flaky appointments, tentative, it doesn't matter. As soon as I feel like I got Durran on the hook, I'm going for the kill. And that's why we're getting all these tentative, loose appointments, right? They're not solid. They don't come in. I said, so what if I told you that the best performing stores in the nation aren't asking for the appointment anymore? They're not saying, when can you show up? They're not saying, what's a good time for you to come see the car? They're not saying any of those things. And one of the BD reps looks at me and goes, so are they just giving information? I said, basically. I said, but let me tell you something. And you hit on all of this right now. I said, we're going to change our verbiage, right? And at the point where you see the kill, where you're about to go, hey, when can you show up? Durran, when's a good time what's your schedule look like? I'm going to ask you one simple question, Durran. I'm going to ask you, hey, Durran, have I got you all the information you're looking for so far? Is there anything else I can do for you? Hey, let me ask you, Durran, where are you at in the process? Because these are our next steps. I can either, 1, take the vehicle to you, 2, schedule a time for you to come take a look at it, drive it, make sure you love it, or 3, we can even do this 100% remote. Where would you like to go? And we take away the yes or no. We meet the customer where they want to be met. And here's we talk about being disruptors, right? How many customers are expecting us to open up with, hey, I can take the car to you, Durran, or I can come to you to get that appraisal? Yeah. I mean, that they're not expecting that. And one of the things that I pride myself on, and I know we talked a lot and we think a lot alike, what I tell my dealers is, if you do what I tell you to do, right? If you do what I'm training you and showing you to do, I will take the Pepsi challenge with any dealership out there, right? Shop me in person, shop me online, shop me over the phone. I will take the Pepsi challenge that your competitors will not do. Next time you're at a 20 group and they mystery shop your dealership, you're going to get blown away with the service, as long as you continue to do what I'm teaching you to do, right? Now, the second you don't, hey, there's I can show, I can teach, you guys got to do, right? But I promise you, by doing what Durran just talked about, by offering something different, right? We're not going for the jugular anymore. We're trying to give enough information, and then that paradigm shift, right?
Yeah.
I believe, and you tell me what you think, there's 3 funnels customers go into these days, right? Remote, traditional, and there's a hybrid.
Yep.
And although remote might not be that big, it's also, you have to understand, we've conditioned customers to want to come talk to us about no money down, 15 grand off, 199 lease special for so long, right? But if we can open that conversation and talk about convenience, experience, and remote, guess what? That remote bucket and that hybrid bucket are going to build up. And I think that you can utilize those tools that help you do things remote to transition traditional customers to hybrid so you save time. What do you think?
Oh, you just went in. I'm still loving those 3 questions. You gave me credit. That's your questions. So that was sick. And I hope people, especially you new people, listen to what Roy just saying. Like, this is so important because it's harder to, when you do what we do as either coaches, consultants, whatever title we take, it's literally, you have to untrain people's minds. So if they've been doing it for such a long time, it becomes very challenging. But listen, if you're somebody that's in the internet department or anywhere that touches customers, listen to what he's saying, because what I was thinking of when I'm listening to you speak, and when you said it kind of falls into 3 things, either hybrid, you go, and I started thinking about every other industry too. And even when it comes to groceries, I'm one of those people that it's coming here, but every now and then, what do I have to do? I'll go in, so it's like having those flexible options. Could you imagine as a customer listening that, like, you talking to me, I'm just listening and just being like, okay, Durran, well, so now we're part of this process. Just want to talk to you about how do you want to move forward? Did you want to do X? Did you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And if I'm sitting here listening to that, I'd be like, wait, what'd you just say? You said we can do it like a remote test drive, like now? And to me, that's the experience, because I listen to, and my team, I should say, really gets credit. They listen to lots of calls and you don't hear anything. The normal call goes something like, and I'm sure you've heard this: thank you for calling ABC Motors. This is Durran speaking. How can I help you? Okay, which vehicle are you calling about? Okay, and just so I know who I'm talking to, what's your name? All right, and if I lose you, what's your number? Great, it's available. When can you come in?
Yeah.
I mean, whoever's watching this, they've probably been doing that a couple thousand times, right? Because it's just habitual. That's all it is. It's what we've been conditioned to for the last 20, 30 years. But imagine changing that, adding your flavor to what you just brought to the table, and use that at the end. What's the worst that could happen? All that does is set up a great experience, and that's what sells. That's what I say. Like, I don't even believe in the name BDC, because BDC is what? Business Development Center. That's an internal title, right? That's internal. That's what should be on the financial statement. On the consumer side, it should be an online experience process, an online experience team. Give it a name that customers resonate with, and like, oh my gosh, they're actually here to assist me. But when they see Business Development Center there on the bottom, they're like, what does this person want from me? They only want one thing, and they want my business. But imagine just changing that and bringing in different areas in your talk tracks that sound like nothing that anybody else is doing. And then imagine what this does for your follow-up. Now you have a different way to follow up, because think about this now, and this just popped into my head. This is not scripted, but all I'm thinking of is in terms of follow-up. Now you can follow up differently, because we all know that weird feeling when somebody says, no, I don't want to come in. I want more information, right? Well, what if you didn't do that question and you talked about the 3 different options, and now they want a different option? Now you have a saving grace to keep following up and keeping the sale alive. So hats off to you, man. I think that's great. But even if somebody doesn't use those questions, just think about the whole topic here is be different. Do something different, because what you've been doing, probably, my guess is, especially if you're listening to this, my guess is you're probably looking for something different going into 2023. You're looking for something to challenge and grow yourself, because you know that the last 2 years we've been blessed. We got, a lot of us got, it was great. It wasn't because of our own efforts. It was the market. And if you believe it was just because of you, then hats off to you, boo-boo. Even I know, like, I was fortunate and blessed, even in my business, to have what we had. But now the real is going to show who the real is.
Amen. Amen. And here's the other thing, man. And I made waves when I was on the retail side with this, and it's what makes me believe that what we do now is more important, right? So, and those of you guys that know me know this. Those of you guys that might not, I've been on the training side and coaching side a little bit. I'm the rookie in this deal here with the heavy hitters like Durran and the Fred and Lou's of the world and everybody. I just jumped into this maybe about to be a year, right, into this coaching side. So I got to live through the pandemic. I got to sell cars through the inventory shortage and this and that, and it opened my eyes because when remote and DR, and we'll don't let me forget that, Duran. I think we need to educate people on what digital retail is because I don't think they understand it, right? But so when DR tools started to come out and remote and so I said, all right, let me take Jeff Bezos' business model and let me put it into the auto world. Let me take Favor and Grubhub and Uber Eats, and we're just gonna adapt that business model and we're gonna put it into my dealership. And I'm gonna do one of two things. I'm gonna offer my customers a way to buy a car completely remote, or I'm gonna guarantee if they start the process that way, they're out of the dealership in 60 minutes or less, right? And of course, I tied it with the service piece of it too, but I did a convenience fee for a while on my remote stuff, right? And we added an accessory of or an addendum of about $1,800, and we converted successfully, right? That's how I got to know Tim Cox. That's how I got to know Damon Lester even more. We were on a podcast, we were on a Clubhouse talking about it, and everybody went, the record scratch. What? You did what? Yeah, I was like, what? And I had some naysayer, but hey, it was a convenience thing. And what I told people was like, look, I'm going to put that price tag on there. Then I'm going to go to my sales team and say, hey guys, I just wrote a really big check and we need to come through, right? And so what it did for my experience is we had to treat them better. We had to give them an amazing experience. And we got an upsell price tag on this bad boy. It better be worth it. Because if it's not, they're going to blast us. This ain't going to work. This is actually going to be counterproductive, right? But I believed that I trained enough. I developed enough. I spent my time every day training my teams. This was so important that we converted at a high ratio and our CSI didn't drop, right? And you're talking about at a time where people were playing markup and people were playing this and playing that. I said, okay, I'm going to add my version of it, but there's going to be something that goes along with it, right? Instead of nitro tires, mop and glow, and hey, I'm going to charge you $5,000 just because I'm going to charge you $5,000. I went, okay, here's a convenience fee, but here's what you're going to get with it, right? You're not going to get the same experience somewhere else. And, I'm not recommending dealers go out and do that. For me, it was a learning experience that, hey, if you're worried that if you open up the remote doorway, your profit margins are going to shrink, you're wrong. If you open up the remote doorway and you meet your customers with convenience and you make it easier, you'll make more. Man, our F&I penetration went through the roof.
Yeah.
We did online Zoom calls for turns, right? FaceTimes, Facebook video, whatever video medium we had, we took a turn, we talked to that customer, our penetration went through the roof. You're talking about a convenience customer, right? And so, Durran, if you're that remote customer and I offer you that convenience, and then I jump back on a FaceTime with you and I say, hey, Durran, great news. I'm wrapping everything up for you. You know that payment we talked about? Hey, for $50 more, you're completely protected. If anything happens to that vehicle, you can take it to any service department nationwide, and you're only paying $100 out-of-pocket deductible. Everything's covered, right? Except for your tires, windshield, and any little. But all the major components, man, you're not going to have to worry about anything. Just gas it up and go, right? That customer is going to go, wow, okay, yeah, let's do it, right? That's not the one that's going to stop you and say, hey, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Let's nickel and dime. It's convenience is what you're selling, and if you can put a process together that helps that, you're not gonna make less money. I promise you, man.
No, because people pay for convenience. I always tell people, when I'm talking to us, like, raise your hand if you use Amazon. Not saying you believe in Amazon, raise your hand. I was like, then you believe in spending a little bit more money, because there's a lot of things that we get on Amazon that you can get less expensive elsewhere. But we do it because out of habit and out of convenience. And so if you're a business, why would you not want to be in that space, in the convenience space? Because when you get in the convenience and the experience space, money, right?
And you're going to be the last to fail. You're going to be when everybody else is selling and they're going to be like, how are you doing it? How are you growing? How are you, man? We're just meeting our customers where they want to be met. Right. And so I want to circle back to that topic. We kind of went over digital retail. what does, and we don't have to plug anybody, but I want people out there to understand what DR is. And when you have these conversations with your digital retail provider, I want you to know what questions to ask. I want you to know what you should be looking for. Let me ask you a tough question. You probably know the answer. We know the answer, but dealers don't. If I'm, Joe Smith, and I'm general manager, dealer principal of XYZ Motors, Durran, and I'm on the phone with XYZ DR provider, and they tell me, hey, Durran, or hey, Roy, we got you 187 leads last month. One, is a digital retail tool a lead source, in your opinion?
You want me to answer that now?
Yeah.
No, digital retailing is not a lead source.
Go ahead. Give me your explanation why. Let the people know.
So, digital retailing is not a lead source. It's just another way that a customer is just interacting with your store. And to be politically correct, it might be the only opportunities that you're receiving, because some DR companies dominate the VDP to where the only option that you get is a DR. Like, people can't even click check availability, and they can't even do a lot of the things because we've been so focused on DR, right? So that's not to diminish the value of any DR partners, but you have to think about what it is that you really are wanting your customers to do, because you got to look at the data too. Does every customer want that DR experience? We don't, so you got to find that out and maybe put tools on your site to make sure that you're helping the customer navigate the right way. And that's one of the reasons why I do love chat. So then that way, when people, because I've been on certain sites and I get scared, like, imagine it, there's employees that work at dealerships that don't know how to navigate their own website. So how in the world will we expect a customer to know how to navigate digital retailing? So the employees and the people, especially in the internet teams, they need to be able to master their DR tool with their eyes closed. Like, they should be able to navigate, okay, ma'am, go here, go click here. And if they don't have that part dialed down, they need to either take the DR tool off their site, or they need to retrain on that.
Well, and the reason I asked this question, I'm glad you said that, because I believe the same thing. I believe DR tools are not lead providers. And if your DR company comes to you and says, Durran, I'm responsible for this many leads, fire them. Fire them, because they don't understand the tool, right? They don't know what it is. I think, like you said, and you said this earlier, change the name, the verbiage of a BDC, right, to online experience team. And then a DR tool is just another online experience tool. That's all it is, right? And so you tell me, I'm going to speak my mind here freely, and I hope, man, tell me if you agree, you don't. If not, let's flesh this one out. But I was explaining to some of my dealers this past week, on your website, you go to your website, there's 8 calls to action, right? And then if a dealer doesn't know this part of what we're talking about, right, they have all these CTAs. They have 8 CTAs on a VDP, and the advertising agency comes and says, hey, Durran, look at this heat signature map. Look at all this action your CTAs are getting, right? Look at all these little heat signatures of all these actions. But you don't know, you click, there's 3 check availabilities. You click them, they all lead to a form fill. All right, schedule test drive, form fill. Okay, calculate my payment, form fill. What's the bounce rate from that, right? So I was talking to a dealer, and I said, look, I would much rather clean it up, 3, maybe 4 CTAs. I want it very clear, very concise. Value your trade or sell your car to me, right? Check availability if you want check availability. And then I don't want it to say calculate your payment. I want it to be something to the extent of remote, right? Like, hey, see real-time payment and finish your deal. Something to that extent, right? And as we click each one of those buttons, I want to give information before I ask for information. Because what I want is, when I get that lead, I want it to be a quality lead, right? And so the dealer says, well, Roy, doesn't that mean we'll get less leads? I said, well, look at your closing percentages. How much busy work are your people doing responding to somebody that filled out a form fill that really didn't want to, right? They thought, at the end of this form fill, I'm going to get a payment. Oh, wait, I got to go do more? At the end of this form fill, I'm going to get a trade value. Oh, wait, I still got to put my trade info in, right? So we're bogging our BDCs with so much busy work. I would much rather engage with an engaged customer. Let me give some info to get some info, and hopefully I have a better qualified lead there. We can focus on it, and then I have a follow-up program to do with that. What do you say about that?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, because what I feel when it comes to the online retailing portion, I believe it's just as important in our internal operations and how we use it than it is on the virtual showroom of the website. And so what I mean by that you just said it. You were talking about and how you follow up. To me, I think it's much better if you would take a phone up, and then after I get off the phone with you, Roy, then I'm like, hey man, I'm going to send you some information that could save you a little bit of time. Feel free. If you want to do it, great. If not, no worries. And then boom, then all of a sudden you get a message. You can do an app. You can do it based on the conversation that you and I had. Like if trade or something, or if it's credit, I'm going to go ahead and send you something to help us save a little bit of time, but it puts you in control. And the same thing, online leads come in, showroom guest leads. Keep the freaking proposal going and give them something live that matches the experience that they had and their concerns that they had when it comes to buying a car. So I'm in alignment with you, because we can't look at the little DR tool as something that's just from a website lead gen. It needs to be something that's used internally across the entire process, or as an internal tool. So then that way we're not just relying on the conversion of the website.
Yep. And here, I'm going to put something on the bottom of the screen real quick and tell me what you think. Man, we're car guys, right? I didn't do English or anything, but digital retail tools are not, man, how many times do you go to a website and it says calculate my payment? Like there's nothing in the explanation of the tool. We don't advertise for it. We don't all. So if a customer goes to the DR tool and they don't even know what it is, your sales guys don't even know what it is. They think it's just a payment calculator. So they treat it as such, right? And I think, credit, all shout out and credit to Brian Kramer for opening my eyes to this a couple of years ago, but it's that conditioning of advertising that we do with customers, right? We've conditioned them to react and respond to us a certain way. And in my opinion, you still have some time, but you should have done it, when this pandemic started. We should have started reconditioning our customers, refocusing our advertising to convenience, experience, remote, all these things. Because guess what doesn't come up in any of those conversations? Price. Who's the lowest? Who's this? Who's that? And like Durran was saying, when you offer, in my opinion, that lead source comes from whatever source it comes from. I just want to move them down the funnel, but I want to move them down the funnel at their pace, where they want to go, but I want them to feel like they're in charge. Pepsi challenge. They're not going to get that from your competitor. You're going to give yourself a leg up if you pay attention and you service them. And no, you're not giving too much info, and you're not weak. No, we're changing the dynamics, right? We're going to take our customers back. So I see you there. I see you got something. Come on.
No, so is that what Pepsi challenge means? Is that you're saying that my drink is so good that you can
go, man. To me, Pepsi challenge means, hey, shop me. And if I almost want to tell you, Durran, don't buy the car right now. Go try them. Because I want you to see what this is like, right? And of course, they're not going, but if they do, I'm not afraid of it. Call XYZ Motors, set that other lead. Hey, go, here's my pencil. Go take it. Because promise you, they're not going to give. And, we're talking virtual right now. We're talking digital. But I believe that translates into the dealership too. And so every time I do my coachings is, hey, my goal is to get you so good at what you do at the experience part of it, right? That you're not afraid of anybody shopping you anymore. Hey, they're going to go down to XYZ Motors and don't worry, they'll be back. Right. I think you talk to dealers every day. How many of them are surprised by how B-backs are right now? Right. They're like, hey, I'm surprised people are coming back. It's because if they have any semblance of customer experience, there's so many dealers out there that are winning because of the market, and they think they're winning because of them, that they're telling customers, hey, it is what it is. You don't want to buy it somebody else. Customer service took a back seat, right? So this is your time to dominate market share just by treating people well and by giving them information and by doing what we're talking about. So yeah, no, Pepsi challenge, that's exactly it. I will open that Coca-Cola up next to you and say, hey, give it a try. I know you're going to like mine better.
I don't have that, but I hadn't had a Pepsi in anyways, I better not do that. I don't want to get kicked off of social. So, but you said something, and I'm going to give something that's very practical and actionable, right? And this is something that, before this call, when me and you were texting, a lot last week, we we're like, man, maybe there's something we could do together or whatever. And it probably could be something like what I'm about to tell, but you don't need us. You don't need me. But it might help. But there's two things that every dealership should do if they don't have this down already, especially going into 2023. And I've got to do this with some of the clients that I have that aren't doing this yet, because it's so important. But I talk about playbooks a lot, because most dealerships do not have a playbook. They don't have this execution of How does our business operate? It's so important. And what the two things that needs to happen is, number one, you have to come up with a playbook of what does our online retail process look like? Like, what should that be? And the second thing you should do is make sure that that process mirrors your in-store process. Like, they almost actually, so it could be one thing. You need to create a process. If you're a dealership listening to this right now and you're a GM, you need to create a process that should be seamless for both. So your online and your offline should be the same. So I'm going to give an example of this. If somebody walked into the showroom, what do they have? A greeting. Well, if somebody is going out on an outbound call to reach out to somebody, what do they have? A greeting. Both of those greetings should be aligned. Okay. And then the second step, what do we have? Discovery, needs analysis, fact find. Go back as far as you want, right? Go to any trainer that you want. But that's that next thing. Well, that should be happening online and that should be happening offline. Next step, what happens? The experience of the demonstration, the presentation, all that stuff. Offline, we killed a game. I hope so, right? But we're doing all this stuff. We're making sure that we're breaking down the features. We're highlighting the things based on that discovery conversation. Online, this is where it drops, because sometimes we don't even get to the discovery. We're too busy just trying to get them there. And so imagine if you, just like what we said, you give that option of, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have myself or representative is going to give you an online presentation based on the conversation we just had, just to reassure you that this is the right vehicle for you. Is that okay? No, it's not. I don't want any videos. Right. Doubt anybody's going to say that when 84% of them said that's what they needed in order to make a purchase. And that's for everything. Right. So next, we did the third thing. What's the fourth thing? Oh, do they have a trade? Will this be replacing their current vehicle? What's your process offline? That's a thing in itself. We could have made a call just about the appraisal process. That was on All Things Used Cars. This Rising was talking about, we need to go back to our used car appraisal process, or just our appraisal process, make sure that thing's buttoned up. But what does that look online? That's probably one of the worst processes still in our industry, is when somebody says, I want to sell or trade my car, but I don't want to come into the dealership. Do that today with 10 different dealerships and watch what happens. You'll hear responses like, we don't do that here. Or you'll hear responses of, just use this tool. But one thing that you don't normally get, that you will get in store, is a used car manager to explain why the vehicle is worth what it is. And that's what I've been working on with my team. It's like, we got to get used car managers and leaders in this process, because who knows the value of a car better than them? Who can help a customer understand what the value of their vehicle is better than them? A used car leader is going to know that. So now we've gotten past that part. Here we go. What's step 5? Let's get the business, baby. But don't forget about your service department. I know some people don't do that offline, but if you're going to do it online, introduce your service department. Have him text in and talk about, or have her talk as an advisor, or set it up automatically. And then next we get to F&I, right? So we got F&I, we got the business. How powerful is it if somebody has concerns about interest rate, if somebody has concerns about monthly payment, that an F&I manager hops on video, right? They hop on video, or they do something. They pick up the phone or text and say, listen, I understand, Roy, you had a concern about financing. Listen, the last 9 customers that left my office yesterday, they shared some of those concerns, but I can assure you after they left, it left great. Matter of fact, here's 2 Google reviews for you. Wow, wow, right? Now they got the reviews, they got everything, they got the video that they send. This is a next level modern dealership, because what we're talking about is break down the walls of digital retailing and turn it into our dealerships retailing. Piss on online or offline. Piss on digital retailing and in-store retailing. Let's just call it one thing: retailing. It's just modern retailing. And how we do both is how we do everything, and just making that experience in line. So that's what I would advise people as an actionable thing. If you're sitting here like, what can we actually put in place? Get the freaking playbook and get your leadership team, write that thing down and execute. And I guarantee you will sell more cars, even if it sucks. If it's a bad playbook, but you come together and stick to it, you're going to win, because when it's not working, you'll make that pivot. You'll be like, ooh, this right here isn't working. Okay, boom, let's get this in here. Boom. And that's how the playbook, and that's how you win. Didn't mean to go on a tangent there,
No, hey,
but it just popped as you were talking.
Preach. Well, and the funny thing is, man, this is why we connect and click the way we do. I had this conversation with a marketing director for a dealer group that I'm working with not too long ago, where I said, look, this is you want to talk. If I was still in dealer land and I was in charge of process and I had it my perfect way, you would buy a car the exact same way from me, whether you were in store or out. My process would do the exact same, meaning all, like you said, everything. I'm going to incorporate video as much as I can. I'm going to have the communication points. But when you come into the store, I'm not going to go to my CRM and desk a deal. We're going to go in front of my computer. We're going to select the vehicle and we're going to go through and you're going to buy it a la carte style from my website without having to get up and go here and go there and touch this person and touch that person. Now, do I have managers and point people available to help? 100%. But in a perfect world, to me, my DR tool is my one-stop shop, right? I'm going right to it. I'm going, hey, and I'm going to train Durran. You may have never bought a car from home, but let me show you how easy it is, because the exact same way we just did it in store is the exact same way you could have done it from the couch. How transparent is that?
Man, and can I add something to what you just said? Because the DR tool is important, because I'm trying to play devil's advocate to everything that we're saying here. So I'm trying to think. So I would punch me in the mouth and say, my DR tool doesn't do that. My DR tool is not the greatest. So what I would tell you is get a different DR tool or build your playbook around that DR tool. It has to be one or the other. So we said, do the playbook, get everything buttoned up. Then, dude, we got NADA right around the corner. Right? You just hop on over there, get to running, and next thing you know, here's our process. Does your DR tool fit? No. Does your DR tool fit? And then if nobody's fits, dude, get on these little contractor sites that I use to hire people. Find somebody, have them develop what you need, show them an example of what's out there in the market, invest, spend you 5-6 figures. Oh, well, because it should after that just be like just a little service fee to maintain it. Put it on your own freaking website. Take the OEM site, move that down just a tad. Don't tell anybody else. I'm just joking. No, we have the OEM site. Maybe this could be an approved vendor for them or whatever. But take control of your process first. And then, like what you just said, the DR tool, use the DR tool after the process, or take the DR tool and build a process around it.
Well, and part of that is, and this is, something that I live by, man. You be a problem solver, not a problem reporter. So the second, the second that you have that problem, like you just said, hey, my DR tool doesn't do that. How much time am I going to spend on, complaining about that? No, my mindset goes straight into, okay, how can I make my process fit, and what can I do to supplement so that I create this experience? And I understand, guys, not all dealerships are created equally, right? Not all dealerships have the same access, have the same funds, have the same advertising budgets. I get it. I've been in each one of those stores, in each one of those positions. That mindset I just told you, that problem solver, not problem reporter, will get you so far and get you to the point to where you can spend a little bit more. But if you don't have the availability to do so, that does not mean you can't provide your customer this experience. It just means your team's going to have to work harder. That's it, right? It just means your team's going to have to do a little bit more. And what's wrong with that? Because I promise you, we're not giving 110 every day. But if you can figure out ways to implement these things, right? So many people say, hey, I can't send video because I don't have a CRM that's no, it's just an extra step. No, you just have to upload something to your computer. No, it's laziness that stops us from being great. And I promise you, if you get that out of the way, right, and you get the excuses out of the way, and you just think, okay, I want to be better than Joe. I want to be better than XYZ Motor. I want to be better than them. What do I have to do that? Not what blocks me. What's going to get in my way? Why can't I? What tools don't I have? No, what do I have to do to be better? Everything that I heard Durran talk about, everything I heard Roy talk about, what do I have to do to implement that? No matter how hard, how difficult, come hell or high water, it's going to get done, right? And that's the mindset these folks have to have. Because I understand, like you said, hey, not every DR tool is going to do what you need it to do. I get it. Everybody knows where I lay and who I love on the DR side of it, Like I said, no plugs or anything like that, but Tim Cox and those boys, that's my family. I love them. But I mean, and then to branch off, what Durran said. How powerful is that? I've been at NADA Digital Dealer so many times. I never see anybody prepared. I never see anybody that says, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. This is what my processes are. Who fits that?
Yes.
It's always just a blind, oh, I get a free this if I go through a demo. Oh, you know what I mean? And we get all this information. And how many times do you see dealers go back to their store and they execute on none of it? I didn't hire anybody because it's just overwhelming, right?
Yes.
There's 30 million people that do the same thing, when in reality, you didn't have your playbook. You didn't understand exactly what you were looking for. And you never interviewed these vendors or these dealer partners on how they could help you execute with that, right? So,
bro, I'd paid for this. Like, I think this was great. A lot of great tangible things, and I'm so thankful. Like, you're a wealth of knowledge, man. For you to be doing this a year, I'm excited for you and your future and your clients. I hope they're listening to you like crazy, because it's that new, fresh perspective is what not just the leaders need, but it's what the industry needs. Just like everybody, and I love the fact that you and I can be on here talking. And even if I didn't agree with some of the stuff, like I literally would have called it out, although I'm in line with you on a lot of things. So, but if I didn't, I love the fact that we're in an industry that you were accepting. You like, listen, be real. Like if you want to challenge this, challenge it. And that's music, man. That's art. And so I love that about you, man. And I'm super excited and pumped for what you're going to do in this industry, man.
Man, I appreciate it. Well, it's the collaborations, right? Like that's the only way we grow, right? And here's the deal. I think we can relate this way. It's the realness. It's, hey, when I was in the dealer world, I didn't want to be surrounded by yes men. I wanted people that would challenge me, because that's how we grow. That's how we do better, right? And I'll be 100%. Somebody asked me about this topic right here and to do a podcast based on it. And if I was ego driven, I would have said, okay, let me do it. Let me drive me. Let me do this. Let me do that. The first thing I said was, hey, hold on. I'm going to get my guy Durran, see if he wants to jump on here with me and get this done, because I know together we can provide so much more, right? I know together we can, the impact will be felt differently if we collaborate versus somebody just trying to say, hey, it's all me, right? Forget that guy. Forget this. You just need me right here. I'll be the first to admit, man, I built my company around leadership coaching and processes. This other stuff I do is just because I can't break out of the, hey, it's not my mold. And I love it, man. I just love our dealership, or I love dealerships in general, right? But it's the ability to open up and say, hey, I've got a wealth of knowledge in internet and BDC, but there's people that know it more. There's people that have been doing it longer. There's people that can add so much more. And I give a disservice to everybody that watches this if I hog the spotlight and I don't bring great minds on here that can share. And like I said, man, I was open to it, but I know we align so well. And the funny thing is, at the end of the day, everything we talked about today, none of it is reinventing the wheel, right? We didn't talk about, we didn't say, hey, demo the car first and then go do a meet and greet, right? Mm-hmm. We're not readjusting the process. We're just saying, use all the tools that we already know, be aware enough to know where the industry is going, and figure out how we can just service our customers better. And you'll find you don't have to change much. You just got to do more, right? You don't have to change much. You just got to do a little more.
And you know what we could do? What I would love is maybe after people watch this and they get this information, if they enjoyed this, I would love it if we could do this again in the future, Roy, and start bringing on those vendors, right? Bring on those DR people, and they can talk about how theirs fits into certain processes, and maybe that helps. And then another thing is maybe welcoming somebody on here, and I'd love to be on there as well, that's somebody that hates this topic, that they believe it's not true. You don't sell cars online. You just need to get them in, and you don't need to do anything else. I would welcome that discussion and to talk to somebody, because the reason why I'm passionate about it is because I was doing it before there was even a DR tool. Like, I was doing this back in 2009, 2010. When I was on the phone, I said, okay, yes. All right. And your payment's going to be, and I'm sitting here on a blue screen, right? Shift, tab, shift, tab. Yes, sir. And it's looking like it's going to be $419 to $424 a month. And this is, you're taking credit apps over the phone. No. Right. But hey, that's what we had 14 years ago. But now, so for somebody to challenge it, I would like to welcome it, because the department that I got to serve in the store I was at, we did a lot of business all around Tennessee and surrounding areas, all across the country, where I was just doing that business within minutes over the phone. But I would love to have somebody on here and talk about that as well.
Well, I think it's easier now, right? Like you
Yep.
are right. Back in the day, back when I was selling back in 2010 and 11, it was frowned upon, right? Hey, what are you doing over there in that corner? Get them in, just get them
Yep.
in. We don't do that. And it was all about the experience side of it. So no, Durran, I'm completely open to it, brother. We can, me and you. I think this collaboration thing can grow into something even bigger, man. And I'm excited about it. I love it. I want it, man. I'm telling you, I was upset yesterday that I could not get home quick enough to make this thing happen because it's just been I've been holding it and ready to just get this going. I knew, I've had some good episodes in the past, but this one right here I think is fire. And we didn't even go into anything that I usually talk about. I think this is a subject that needs to be talked about. This is something that the longer dealers avoid it, right, the further behind they're going to get. And the more we're going to allow, hey, what if Carvana goes bankrupt? Okay, somebody can take that business model, change some back end decisions that they made, and still pick up where they left off and do better, right? So either we wake up or we go away. It's one of the two, right? So it's what do we say that in the store all the time? It's either you don't know any better or you don't care enough, right? Aptitude or attitude, one of the two. Dealers, aptitude or attitude.
That's it.
Either you don't know how to interact in this space, and if you don't, hey, we're here, or you don't care enough to do so. And if you don't care enough, I apologize. I'll see whenever another name is coming up in front of that store, right? Unfortunately, that's the way that it's going. So,
Yeah.
man, anything you want to leave the guests with, brother? I know we're coming up on the hour mark.
I would just say what we talked about, just as a button up, just take the information that you heard, the points that you did like, or even the points you didn't like. And if you don't have an online or an offline retailing playbook, steps to the sale, I would challenge you to just replenish that thing. Look at it, open eyes, get with your team. Does this make sense for today's customers? And is this an easier way for us to pivot for phone, online, and offline? And then how are we communicating with our customers? So I would challenge you, just look at that stuff. And then most importantly, and it's really in so much automotive, but I always remind people, just make sure you take care of yourself. To me, it's most important to mental. Like, that's why I say with what I do for a living, and a lot of my content, 80% of it is typically mental, like therapy stuff and whatever, because I feel like 80% of my time is spent as a life coach, as I'm consulting. And this is all the way up to owners all the way down, is because that mental is so important. So make sure you remember, take care of your self-care. We're coming up on the holiday season, so it can get stressful, it can get crazy. So be sure to take care of yourself, get some time in, so then that way it's easier to input some of these things that we talked about today. And thank you so much again, Roy, for having me on. It's been a blessing. It's been great. And I think it was all in God's perfect time, and that there's a little bit of a storm to get you here so we could have some time and knock this thing out. It was great, and I'm looking forward to the next time.
Man, I love it. And guys, it means the world for Durran to come on here and for us to share this with you guys. Please, I'm going to tell you, as much as we love doing what we love doing, none of this matters if you guys don't listen, don't engage, don't get involved. I promise you. If you're in that dealership and you may not be the decision maker, you may not be as high up the ring as you think you should be to make a difference, you don't need to be there to make the difference. I promise you, guys like Durran, guys like myself, we made a difference in this industry because we weren't afraid to make a little noise, right? And I'm not saying go disrupt everything, but go out there. If you're an internet manager and you've got a little bit of autonomy there, but you're afraid to pull the trigger, call one of us, contact one of us, listen to this. If something inspires you, we'll show you how to engage and how to do this. I don't know about Durran, but I can almost think it's the same way. This mentorship started with me for free when I was in the retail side. I coached people for free out of the kindness of my heart because I wanted to make a difference. And I thought there was people out there that didn't have access or didn't have coaches or didn't have that kind of culture or discipline. I wanted to make myself available. And luckily enough, I was blessed to be able to do this for a living now. I got to fill in Durran's of the same cloth.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a GM to make an impact in your store. You can do it at whatever level you're at, from sales all the way up to management, middle level management, doesn't matter. Don't be afraid to go out there. If this is something you're passionate about and you believe in, I promise you, you can make a difference. And if you need help doing so, reach out to us and let us know, and we'll be more than happy to help you do so as well.
Dude, thank you. That was beautiful, man.
I love it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the recorded portion right here. I got my guest, Durran Cage, in the house. This has been Sales Tower Talk. Look out. Got a feeling we're going to collaborate on a lot more stuff. Like I said, If you enjoyed it, if you liked it, man, share it like crazy. If you know somebody that needs to listen to what we just said, share it like crazy. Put it in front of your dealer, put it in front of your GM, put it in front of the decision maker. I promise you, you want to win in today's game and you want to make 2023 as great as it can be. This is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to learn how to play ball in this digital space. And what better to do than listen to two of us that are passionate about it and can make a difference in doing so. So, guys, this has been, season 2, episode 1, Sales Tower Talk. My tremendous guest, Durran Cajun, here with me. Appreciate you guys. We love you. We will catch you guys on another time, okay? All right, we are live on Facebook right now. Man, this is Second Pencil. You guys that watch the show or have seen Sales Tower Talk, you know that I like to jump on afterwards with our guests. We just recorded about an hour. Man, I think Durran said something during that podcast, and I agree. I think we just gave about $1 million worth of game for free, right? Shout out to Wallow and Gilly the Kid on their little podcast they got. But we just did about an hour of free game that this should have been something on a webinar. We should have been on stage with this one here. But hey, it's for free. It's because we love this industry. We love, I don't know if you can tell, Durran's smiling. I'm smiling. This thing was huge. Durran, let them know a little bit about what we talked about, brother.
Well, side note, they know people are like, man, he's always smiling. But yeah, I am happy. But no, it was great, everybody. And what I love the most about having the opportunity to be on Roy's show and speak with him was that it was hyper focused really around one thing. And it's about retailing the newest way, the most modern way, the most effective way possible. I think everybody will like it. It's very practical, so literally there's steps. There's a lot of great tips that I think it's perfect timing to go into the new year with. So if you're a GM, dealer, all the way down to if you're somebody that's picking up the phone, dialing 200 to 300 times a day, listen in, pay attention. You'll have some great ideas, but it was fun, such a blast. And thank you so much.
Man, brother, I think, and the collaboration there, we were feeding off each other for a good while there. Man, I don't want to throw too much out there because I want them to watch and listen. I know some people are waiting for this episode to drop, but man, I don't want to say we took shots. I don't want to say shots were fired, but it kind of was one of those deals where it's like, hey, if you're not learning how to play in this space, you're gonna get lost, right? So, to let you guys in on a little bit of what our topics or our subjects were, what we talked about, man, we talked about the new internet shopper, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but there is a new internet shopper, what they're looking for, how to service them, and how to break the mold, right? And Durran, tell the folks right now, what if I'm not worried about Carvana? What if I think Carvana is just a flash in the pan? It's just a phase. I'm just going to wait them out. They're going to go bankrupt. What do you say to the dealer that says that, or the manager that says that to you?
Sure, I'm gonna give them the number that you told me. Did you say 400,000?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, over 400,000 that they sold. Now that's just them. That's not everybody else, the Brooms and all these others. But so who's gonna take that? That's how you have to look. If there was 400,000 cars retailed online by one, how much of that are you getting? And if you're not getting any of it, how much of that are you giving to somebody else? So that's what we broke down. How can you get that back? If you can get that back, imagine your market share, imagine the customer experience, imagine the stories that will be told. If you perfect the process to give customers the best experience, both online and offline, it's next game over, level up and have some fun. But replace those units that these big boys are getting and big ladies are getting, replace that, bring them in store by using the most effective processes possible.
Well, because I'm going to tell you, if me and Durran pull enough money together, we might go figure out how to do this Carvana thing the right way, right?
Yes, sir. Yep, that's right.
Your dealerships have the one thing they don't have. It's personnel, it's people, and the big one, culture, that's right? It. Culture. Oh, we didn't even talk about this on there. I want to make sure we bring it up here so they can hear it. Man, Durran, I tell my dealers all the time, look, the one thing that separates one store from another is culture, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have this amazing culture, you have this place where you guys do everything right, it feels good, it feels like home, it feels warm, why not expose your customers to that before they ever show up to the store? Oh. Why not expose your customers to that amazing culture, no matter if they're on the phone, online, whatever medium they decide to communicate with you? I think your culture is something you need to expose, you need to show them. And we talked about the Pepsi challenge, right? That's the best way. Hey, we're great. Here, I'm going to show you how great we are. come see us. If you want to go check out XYZ Motors first, that's fine. You're going to come back this way because you're not going to get the same experience. They're not going to treat you the way we do. So, I mean, right? Why not? Why not? Send the video, do the things that actively show you're different, right?
That's what it's all about. That's how I make it. That's how you make it. Anybody that wants to do something at a great level, you have to do at least one or two things that's a little different. You know, it's kind of cool. It's a little niche that nobody else is really doing. And if you're not doing that, that's what you need to lean on first. Like, what is that one or two things that you're really doing that just makes you freaking stand out? It sounds simple. It's because it is, and it's easy. The problem that we have in most of our lives and in this industry is just that it's easier not to do it. You know, that's the problem.
Man, we're gonna have to when Colby edits this thing, we're gonna have there's so many little bites and pieces that I think are gonna be huge because I mean I didn't do it. I have the effects over here. I should have. There was bombs being dropped. There was I mean the machine gun was out. We were going at it. There was so many
stuff are just running.
Yep. Hey, and you said something. I wanna give them a little bit here. We won't go into depth on it, but I just want to, get this little thing in their mind so they know and they're waiting when the podcast drops. You said, hey, do you have a playbook and do your processes match it? That's huge. That's fire. I think that's something that if a dealer just took that from what we talked about, right? Because, once again, I mentioned him in the podcast, all credit to Brian Kramer. When I heard him say this not too long ago, if you don't have a process, you just don't know what it is, right? Your people are doing it and you're just not in tune with what it is, right? So when we talk about our digital retail tools, when we talk about virtual appraisals, when we talk about any of this, if you don't have a process and your people don't understand that process, you have a process, you're just out of the loop on it. And you have no control over how the experience goes with it or the outcome of it. You can't control how to manipulate or change or adjust. You're on your own there. You're in no man's land, right? So, man, kudos. I love that. I got chills when you said it. Do you have a playbook and do your processes match what that playbook is? So I don't know if you want to go too into depth on that, but man, I'm telling you.
No, we're going to throw a little nugget. I'll throw one more out there. And to go into that was, does your playbook align with your DR tool? And so what we're telling is that what you've got to do is you either have to have a DR tool and build a playbook, a retail process playbook around that, or either you need to have a retail playbook process and build a DR tool around that. And what happens is, like what Roy's saying here, the number one thing that you have to have is a playbook. And if you don't have a playbook, or if it hasn't been updated since 1931, then I would go ahead and update that, get with your team, make it fun, make it next week thing, get together and figure out, how can I create the best process possible? And then that's when you can lean on people like Roy. Give him a call. You can call me. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of consultant trainers. But to me, I believe there's still not enough. There's a lot of dealers out there that need help. But find somebody, get with the right people or the right people within your organization to come up with a playbook and a system. So then that way, when your business is broken, don't get pissed at your people. Get pissed at your playbook because the playbook's the thing that's not working. And if your people aren't doing the process that's in your playbook, then you need to get your people fixed. Don't get me all fired up on here, Roy. I mean, we're on live. We're not supposed to be doing all that.
No, hey. And another nugget to go. This is why I love this, because the energy, right? The synergy here. Man, do you know how many coaches Kobe and Shaq had before Phil Jackson?
Oh, I don't know the exact number from them, but I've studied a lot. Like I know Steph Curry has one just for his.
I'm saying head coaches. Kobe and Shaq, that dynamic duo, had 3 head coaches before Phil Jackson. What I mean by that is you can have stellar people on staff, but if your playbook ain't tight, if they don't know your processes, if you're the coach and I don't have that set in place, you can have amazing athletes, you can have amazing people on staff that aren't reaching their potential because they're not getting the leadership they need out of it, right? So you talk about the playbook, you talk about everybody knowing it. That's the key to me, man. Hey, those 3 coaches before Phil Jackson, they didn't have that process tight. They didn't have the triangle, right? You put some great coaching behind it. You put, man, and look at what it does. It makes a world of difference. So we could do this forever, brother. We could jump on. I mean, I'm sure we could go for 3 hours. We can have one of them Joe Rogan podcasts. But right. I know you got some things. Man, I just wanted to put a little feeler out there for the community, for the public. You guys know, hey, great podcast, amazing conversations. Man, I love it. I hope we do this more often. I think you're going to see a lot more of me and Durran coming at you. So I'm excited for that, brother. Anything you want to leave Facebook land with before we finish this bad boy?
No, that's it. As always, take care of yourself. Have some fun out there while you're doing this. Don't get too caught up in business. Make sure you bring your life to that business. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Roy, again.
Of course, brother. Of course. Hey, guys, this is Roy coming at you live on the Second Pencil Sales Tower Talk. Be on the lookout. We're going to get this thing chopped up, edited, nice and cleaned up a little bit, and then we're going to get it to you guys. My goal is to have it to you guys next week by Wednesday or Thursday. Look live. I'll put it on there. Durran will share it. Guys, share, like. You're not going to want to miss this one. I promise you. I know I've gotten some animated ones before with some great guests, but this one right here, man, I think when all is said and done, this one might be the greatest that we put out there. So, hey, Durran, thank you again, brother. I appreciate you. Thanks for taking some time. I know it took us a little bit to hook up like this, but I promise you, people, watch out. This is the start of something great right here. I love this guy, man. Durran, thank you, brother.
Thank you. Take care. Be blessed. Be good.
All right, guys. We will catch you guys next time.
Peace.
Yeah.